Hi, my name's Gavin. I've been collecting golf clubs and old golf balls since about 1995. And when I started collecting, I tried to get hold of some reference books. And I did. There were some really good books, which I'll probably talk about in some other videos. But it took me quite a long time to assimilate the information really that I was reading. So what I want to do is just for new collectors out there, take them through things that will help them along their collecting journey. Now the first thing I'm going to explain is the different phases that golf has gone through over the centuries. So in the very ancient mists of time, you may read that golf was played with wooden balls, but there's no actual real concrete evidence for that. But what there is evidence for balls such as this, which is a feathery ball. So this is leather stuffed with feathers. And feather balls were in use at least from around, there's documented evidence of late 1500s up until the 1840s. And woods, the clubs of the time, would have looked like this. Large, long, wooden heads. And I'll talk about long-nosed clubs in another video. What I'm giving you today is just an overview. So long-nosed clubs and quite crude hand-forged irons. Oh, okay. So there's the feather ball period, and then from the mid 1840s up until about 1900, there's the gutta ball, gutta percha. Now gutta percha is a tree sap. It comes from the sapodilla tree, and someone at some stage, which again is a little bit lost in the mists of time, discovered that if you heated this tree sap in boiling water, you could roll it into balls, and it made very good balls. And again, I'll do another video sometime on the gutta ball particularly. So the gutta period, clubs had become a little bit shorter in the head, but they were still long nose. And the irons were smooth face. So no grooves. What you're seeing there is a bit of surface rust on that one. Okay, so then in 1898, a gentleman called Coburn Haskell successfully, after much trial and error, made a ball that had a solid core with lots of elastic bands wound around it and a gutta percha shell, and that was the Haskell. And wound balls changed the game hugely. They went a lot further than the old gutties and featheries, and essentially then from about 1900, what really happened was they were just playing around with pattern cover, the cover patterns. So this one here is about 1912, this one here 1920s, and this is 1930s. And then really not a lot happened between in terms of the overall design of golf balls from 1900 right up until the 1990s. And in fact, I think I'm right in saying the Titleist PTS wound was the last wound ball that was made, and I think they stopped making that in 2007. So you've got the feathery golf period, the gutty golf period, and then the wound ball period. Okay, I'm just going to show you a few clubs so that you can, again, it's sometimes it's just when you put these clubs next to each other that then you begin to understand a bit more about it, how it all fits together. Okay, so this is a long nose club. This one's probably from about 1870. This is again long nose, but it's late long nose, so that's about 1885. Then actually skipping forward a few decades, you've got still wooden shaft and an all wooden head. Then the next big development in club design is steel shafts start coming in, but still with a wooden head. That one's a Jack White, actually, driver, and that's early 1930s. Then you're going up, say, to the 1960s, 1970s, and you've got, well, stainless shafts and all wooden heads, but perhaps with inserts like this one. This is a Ben Sayers. And then by the late 1980s, 1990s, you're getting more to clubs that essentially are the same as what we use today in now 2021. But this is a tailor-made R320, 320cc head, so smaller than nearly every other driver you'll buy today at 460cc. So that's really the woods and how they progressed. Let me show you a few irons. Okay, so the thing is, you've got early irons, which are hand-forged heads and wooden shafts. And then they're getting a bit smaller in dimensions by, say, 1900, but still probably most of them are smooth face, or you'll see ones that have hand stamped or etched stamped faces here, some kind of rough patterns. But then by the 1920s, you've really moved into stainless steel heads, or rustless you'll often see on them. And then by the 1930s, you're moving into irons that a lot of people mistake for wooden shafts, but they're metal cores and they have this plastic sheath over the top of them. But what a lot of people do is they look at the end of the clubs and they see this wood and they say, ah, that's wooden shafted. And when I started collecting, my first thought was, is that wood? Well, I'm not sure. And then I was thinking, So when people contact me through my websites and they say, I've got an old golf club, one of the first things I say to them is, do you know if it's wooden shafted or not? And they say, well, I think so, because I can see wood at the end. And I say, okay, go and get a magnet, see if it sticks halfway up the shaft, and that'll tell us for sure. And quite a lot of them come back and say, yeah, magnet stuck. I say, okay, so you've got something that's certainly made after, let's say, 1930 or early 1930s. Okay, so that's really, when we're talking about, let's say, hickory golf, and a lot of hickory golf tournaments, certainly in Europe, it's not quite the same perhaps in America, are stipulating clubs that were made before 1935. So with wooden shafts and shafts, metal shafts actually came in slightly earlier in America than they did certainly in the UK, or were allowed for competition play. Okay, so when we're talking about hickory golf, hickory golfers and antique golf clubs, we're talking about clubs with wooden shafts. Okay, thanks, bye.